Starting in Zurich, I cycled to Paris, Brussels, Luxembourg and back home to Switzerland. On this tour I visited 5 European countries. I went to many famous places in the cities and of course I spent most of the time cycling through the countryside. The landscapes were absolutely breathtaking. I was very lucky to see many amazing sunsets and I made sure to eat some proper food every once in a while. One of the highlights was meeting new people. Overall, it was an amazing trip, but unfortunately, not everything went smoothly.
This night was horrible. I had to puke at about 11 p.m.
I'm so pissed off right now. I can't believe that this just happened.
Good morning from Zurich. Beautiful weather today. Around 600 kilometers until Paris. Let's do it.
My bike was ready and the weather couldn't have been better. I was at a spot called Bellevue, which means beautiful view. My first stop was the Opera House, which was built in the year 1890. Standing on the Münsterbrücke, you have a nice view of the river called Limmat. East of the river you can see the Großmünster, which was built more than 900 years ago. On the other side of the Limmat is the Fraumünster, which is even 250 years older than the Großmünster. Here you can see the Paradeplatz, which is one of the most expensive locations in the whole country and home of the Universal Bank of Switzerland. The Lindenhof is also famous amongst tourists. From this spot you have an amazing view over the city. After the sightseeing, it was time to leave Zurich. The first few meters of riding were not that beautiful. After about 20 minutes I drove past Sulke, the IT company I used to work for. I was really happy to be on this adventure instead of sitting in front of a desk and writing code. Unfortunately, it didn't take long until the first stupid mistake happened.
I just fell and I'm not even an hour in. Look at that.
I was lucky that my elbow wasn't bleeding as well. I had recently bought click pedals and as you can see, I needed some time to get used to them. I had quickly stopped and when I wanted to start riding again, I leaned too much to the right. The problem was that I was already clicked in with my right foot, that's why I fell. Soon after I made it to Baden, where I had an amazing view while crossing the bridge.
I will adjust the height of my saddle. I recently had some problems with my knee and I hope this will help. Now let's eat something.
I decided to take a break because of the beautiful view. For lunch, I prepared some tasty sandwiches with ham. There was a lot of pollen on my shoes, they were already a bit yellow. After the lunch break, the first uphill awaited me. That's always a big strain on my knee, making sure that my saddle was high enough was definitely a good idea.
I think I made it to the top. I can already feel my knee, which is not good at all, and it's also quite warm, but at least the weather is amazing.
On my bikepacking trip last year, my right knee caused a lot of trouble. I was really afraid to face the same problem again. Last year I was in the mountains. It's not a coincidence that I picked a flatter route for this trip. The less difference in height, the better for my knee. At the top of the hill I wanted to fly with my drone, but unfortunately I was not able to connect my phone with the controller. Soon after I made it to another river called Rhein.
Wow, look at that. So beautiful.
By the way, the European cycling route 15 follows this river from the Swiss Alps all the way to the Netherlands. This is also something I considered to do. In the supermarket I bought a new cable to connect my phone with the drone, but it still didn't work. As you can see, I was not amused. At least my wound had stopped bleeding in the meantime. Afterwards, it was already time to search a spot for the night. I decided to go on the other side of the river.
And now I'm in Germany.
Already on the first day of my tour, I made it to another country, so besides Switzerland, Germany was now also part of my journey. I decided to go into the woods to set up my tent. I had a good feeling as I didn't see anyone.
So, 7 hours in, almost 90 kilometers. Found a spot to set up the tent. To be honest, I'm still a bit upset about the drone, but I'm glad that I have a spot for the night, and now I'm really looking forward to dinner. It's always such an awesome feeling to switch from these shoes to these ones. This is so much better.
For dinner, I ate an apple and some hummus with bread. Afterwards, I made sure to go to bed early.
Good morning. First night was not great, but okay. At least I have beautiful weather today again. Let's do it.
For breakfast, I drank some chocolate milk and ate hummus with bread again. After packing all my stuff, it was time to leave. Since my drone wasn't working, I wanted to send it home by post. Unfortunately, this was not possible because everything was closed as it was 1st of May. So I knew I would have to carry 900 grams for the rest of the trip for nothing. That really sucked. At that point I was in Basel and about to leave Switzerland for at least the next 2 weeks.
Oh my god, look at that. On the left side it's okay, but on the right side it's loose. And now I can't shift anymore. That's a really big problem. Shit. Now I will go to a mechanic. Hopefully he can fix it.
I called about 4 repair shops and none of them responded. I was about to lose hope. When I finally got an answer, I was very happy.
That's the entrance. Looks a bit shady. But the service is what matters now.
Luckily, it was only a small problem. He was able to fix it very quickly. That's his contact. I can highly recommend calling him if you have a problem in Basel. I was very happy that my bike was working again. It took me 15 minutes to get back to the place I had been before. In total, I lost only about an hour with this incident. I was very surprised about that.
I was waiting over there before. And now I will cross a bridge at the border of Switzerland, Germany and France. Made it to France now.
I was really excited about France. This was the first time I would spend a lot of time in a country before leaving it again. Let's do a short quiz. How many people live in France? Is it 47, 59, 68 or 74 million people? I give you 10 seconds to decide. My guess was C, which is the correct answer. With almost 70 million inhabitants, France is much larger than Switzerland with 9 million. However, the population density in Switzerland is higher because it is geographically a much smaller country. I noticed this difference immediately on my first few kilometers in France. I liked that there was less civilization and traffic and more nature.
It's so nice to finally be in nature.
It was already time to eat lunch. I ate the rest of the bread, some nuts with wine berries, and of course some chocolate. When I can eat, I'm always very happy, as you can see. After the break, I continued cycling through the forest. The path was straight for around 10 kilometers. That's something you would never see in Switzerland. I was running low on water, so I desperately needed a river to filter some. After the forest came an urban area, so there wasn't any water and the shops were closed. After cycling through the urban area for around an hour, I finally spotted a river on the map.
Since it's very hilly in Switzerland, there's water everywhere, but here in this flat area there has been no water for 2 hours. I'm so glad I can finally refill my bottles.
Last year I used a Catadin B3. After catching a virus, I decided to buy a new water filter. For this trip I had the Grail Ultra Press, which not only filters bacteria, but also viruses. That made me feel a lot safer, but it is a little bit hard to press. Afterwards, I followed the river for a few kilometers. At that point, the climb to the highest point of the tour awaited me in a famous region called Alsace.
Wow, look at that. That's quite steep.
In the Alsace, around 150 million bottles of wine are produced every year. In this region, there are many cute small villages with beautiful churches. It was a completely different vibe from what I had seen so far. When you leave the villages and find yourself in nature, the beauty of the landscape is breathtaking. It was definitely the most beautiful part of the trip so far. Time flew by and it was already time to search a spot for the night. Luckily, it didn't take too long to find one.
So, almost 7 hours, 92 kilometers. Today the landscape was definitely more beautiful than yesterday. I enjoyed it quite a bit and I'm really hungry again. Let's eat dinner. Right now I feel a bit weird because of the exhaustion and the constant sunshine. I hope it will be better after eating something.
Like pretty much always, the first thing I did was drying my tent. Afterwards, it was time to cook dinner. My gas cooker is something I would not like to miss out on, especially when it's cold outside. It's so nice to be able to eat a warm meal. On that evening, I was cooking some tasty polenta, which only takes 2 minutes.
And it's ready. So good.
After dinner, I set up my tent and enjoyed the beautiful evening before going to bed.
Good morning. This night I slept better than the first night and today is another beautiful day.
One of the first things I always do in the morning is pack up my tent. To be honest, this is my least favorite part of the day. In the morning, I just want to start riding. Packing up all my stuff always takes longer than I would like. But at least it's an awesome feeling when you can finally start cycling. I actually couldn't believe how lucky I was with the weather. Already at the end of the second day, I was riding uphill. At the beginning of the third day, it even got a bit steeper and I had to ride on the road. Fortunately, there was not that much traffic and it was not far to the highest point anymore.
Made it to the highest point of the entire tour. Let's go!
Reaching the highest point meant that an epic descent awaited me. The highest point was at 730 meters above sea level, whereas last year it was at more than 2,200 meters above sea level. I was really glad to be in a flatter area this time. After the descent, I spotted a bakery and bought some quiche, an eclair and a sandwich for later. Having not eaten much breakfast, it definitely gave me enough calories to keep going.
I'm in food heaven right now. I'm actually quite full and it was really difficult to decide what to buy because everything looked so good.
After the short break, the downhill continued. I was riding on a beautiful cycling path that was far away from the traffic and showed the Alsace from its best side. From a cycling point of view, this was one of my favorite sections of the entire tour.
Wow, look at that. Really beautiful. But it's really hot today. Tomorrow it should be a little bit cooler. I'm really looking forward to that.
After riding through the countryside for a few hours, it's a nice change to be in a city again. In Épinal there was some sort of bike festival which I had to check out. They set up a small traffic simulation where children could practice. Right next to it someone was selling some Swiss specialties. There were many brands showcasing their bikes and there was even a small airbag. For me it was already time to leave again to explore Épinal further. It's a very beautiful small city, especially the river makes it very scenic. By the way, I filtered water from this river, which will play a role later. After leaving Épinal, I was riding along a canal called Canal de Vosges. Soon it was time to search a spot for the night. I went a few meters away from the canal into a forest.
Almost 7 hours, more than 100 kilometers today. I think I will set up my tent here. Another beautiful day over. My stomach feels a bit weird after filtering the water from the river. I really hope it will be okay. Well, a few minutes have passed and it turns out I have diarrhea. I really hope it's nothing serious.
I rode back to the village to get rid of the water I had filtered from the river. I thought it might be better to filter from the well. It was no drinking water, but at least the water looked clean. Luckily, I had bought 1.5 liters of water. Obviously, I made sure to drink that first. Afterwards, I rode back to the spot I had been before. I immediately set up my tent and laid down. I was not feeling well, as you can see. Even though it was not cold outside, I had to use my sleeping bag already. I went to bed without even eating dinner.
Good morning. This night was horrible. I had to puke at about 11 p.m. But luckily I feel much better already. Now I want to go to the next supermarket to get some clean water.
After catching a virus on my bikepacking trip last year, I was really pissed off that I had problems with my new water filter as well. Luckily, the next store was only about 45 minutes away. I bought some bananas, a lot of water to finally be able to rehydrate, and some chocolate milk, which is actually not good for the stomach, as I found out later.
I rode a few meters away from the store and I'm still not feeling too well. That really sucks.
As my new water filter filters both bacteria and viruses, I was hoping not to face any problems anymore. However, apparently the water from the river was too dirty, so I would say lesson learned. I decided not to use the filter anymore and buy water instead. As I was not feeling well, I made sure not to ride too much and I booked a room in a hotel to be able to recover. For the first time on the tour it started to rain. Luckily the hotel was not far away anymore.
My stomach starts to ache again. I don't like that.
I was very glad when I finally made it to the hotel. With a distance of 47 kilometers, it was the shortest day so far. I even had enough space to take my bike inside. The room was not huge but quite nice. I was really looking forward to spend the night in a comfortable bed, and it was nice to have my own bathroom. As you can see, I was happy about the decision to book a hotel. Unfortunately, I had the stupid idea of eating a chicken sandwich from the day before, which was no longer good. Towards the evening, that made me feel much worse, and I even had to puke again. At some point it started to hail. I was really glad to be inside a building. The next morning I was feeling better again. I drank a cup of beef stock and bought some groceries that are good for my stomach. Maybe I ate a little bit too much. A few hours later I felt worse again. Luckily it didn't last too long. As you can see, it was quite a roller coaster. The next morning I ate a tasty breakfast in the hotel. Afterwards it was time to say goodbye and continue my journey.
Good morning. It was a really good idea to do a rest day yesterday. Finally, I'm feeling better again, and I really hope it stays that way.
I had a relatively flat day ahead, so I was able to start slowly and see how it goes. I felt more or less fine, but I had a bit of a heartburn. Because of that, I didn't feel like drinking and eating a lot, so I had to force myself to drink water every now and then to stay hydrated.
I had in mind to keep an eye on you. Watch you fill the room without a whisper. When we were younger.
The morning passed very quickly, so it was already time to eat lunch. I ate a banana, some rice cake, some nuts, and a Kinder Maxi.
It was good to eat something, but to be honest, my motivation is not that high today, and in general, I couldn't really enjoy the trip so far because I have been quite stressed lately, and maybe it has also something to do with the route planning.
Lately, I had been putting a lot of pressure on myself since my YouTube channel is not going well. I was hoping to relax a bit on this trip, but the first few days that didn't really work out. As there's always something happening, it's actually not that easy to relax on such a trip. Regarding the route planning, I picked the direct routes from one city to another. I actually didn't adjust anything. I used Komoot and let the app do the work for me. Because of that, the route was not always that beautiful. For example, in this clip right here, the highway was right next to me. In such situations, it's also hard to enjoy the trip. Luckily, there weren't too many of these sections. In the afternoon, I was in a very remote valley. I was riding on the road, but there were almost no cars. In these situations, I don't mind not having a cycling path. The countryside in France is so calm and relaxing. I had a lot of fun. It's crazy how every day flew by so fast. Also on day 6, it was soon time to search a spot for the night. Considering I did a rest day the day before, I was very happy with my progress.
So 95 kilometers, 6.5 hours. I feel much better compared to a few hours ago, but after the last 2 days, I really don't know where my body took the energy from to do such a distance, but now I'm really hungry. Let's eat something.
I found a beautiful spot to set up camp. Like always, I dried my tent before it was time for dinner. I ate an apple, a cup of chili ramen, and another portion of ramen. As you can see, I enjoyed this dinner quite a bit. The evening was absolutely amazing. The sunset was just incredibly beautiful. I even saw wild pigs for the first time. That's definitely something I did not expect.
Good morning. After 2 days in a comfortable bed, this was definitely not my best night, but at least the weather is amazing today.
After it had been a bit cloudy the last 2 days, I was very happy that the sun was shining again. It's incredible that it was already day 7 and I didn't get wet once on the entire tour. I was hoping that my good luck continues. With such amazing weather, this trip is way more fun. After about 2 hours of riding, I came across a bakery where I bought lunch and a tartelette fraise. It's crazy to me how all the French people eat baguette. Some of the bakeries don't even have other types of bread. Let's do another quiz. Roughly how many baguettes are eaten each day in France? Is it 25, 30, 35 or 40 million? You have another 10 seconds to choose an answer. My guess was C. The correct answer is 30 million. The French really do love their baguettes. For them, it's a symbol of daily life and tradition. Over 33,000 bakers bake baguettes every day across France, and 95% of French people eat bread every day. At that point, I was riding along another canal. When looking at the map, you can see that I had to cycle along this canal for a very long time. With a length of 100 kilometers, this was the longest canal section of my entire tour. On the one hand, it was a bit boring, but on the other hand, it allowed me to cover a lot of distance in a short period of time. It was already time for the lunch break. The bagel from the bakery was really tasty. Since the ass starts to hurt after a few hours of riding, it's always nice to take a short break. Time passed quickly and I soon started to look out for a spot for the night. It's always very difficult to find a good spot near a canal, so I rode about 2 kilometers east and found myself in an area with many windmills. I found a good spot to set up my tent quickly, as there was no civilization at all.
So 90 kilometers, 6 hours. I've now been on this trip for 7 days and I covered about 450 kilometers, so I hope I can complete the whole trip in about a month.
It was quite windy, which was good for drying my tent. For dinner I ate some tortellini. It was really nice to eat a warm and tasty meal. I enjoyed the gorgeous evening. The sunset was breathtaking. So far the sun had never been that red on this trip before.
Good morning. I slept much better this night and another beautiful day. Let's go.
Well, I'll be your rainy day lover whenever the sunny days end, and whatever the weather, we have each other, and that's how the story will end.
To be honest, I found these canals a bit boring at the beginning, but now I start to like them because they are really relaxing.
I would say it's time for another quiz. How many kilometers of navigable canals and rivers are there in France? Is it 5,200, 6,700, 7,100 or 8,500 kilometers? 10 seconds start now. My guess was B. The correct answer is D. France has one of the most beautiful and extensive canal networks in the world. These canals wind through peaceful countryside, charming villages and historic cities. At that point I made it to the world-famous Champagne region. Every year, around 300 million bottles of champagne are produced. Only sparkling wine made in this region using specific methods can legally be called champagne. I did actually not know that my route was going through this region, so I was quite surprised. However, I was more interested in eating sweets than drinking champagne, to be honest. After the short break, I continued cycling. It was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 hours later, it was time to search a spot for the night. Since it was very flat all day long, I could cover a lot of distance in a short period of time.
So, 85 kilometers, a little bit more than 5 hours. Today was quite fun and very beautiful. For dinner I will cook some pasta.
Once again, I had a nice view. I even had sunshine to dry my tent. For dinner I cooked a big portion of spaghetti with pesto. It's less hot than ramen, but it feels more like a proper meal.
Good morning, day number 9. Hopefully I can make it to Paris today. Let's go.
I was really glad that I never had any problems with wild camping so far. After packing up all my stuff, it was time to leave. It was about 120 kilometers until Paris, so I knew it would be hard but doable. The road went up and down a lot. Definitely not an ideal start to a 120 kilometer day, but at least the landscape was incredibly beautiful. I could have followed this river, but instead I took the direct route over the hill. Riding uphill is always a huge pain with a 30-kilogram bike. I was really glad that my knee was not causing too many troubles.
Made it to the highest point. This is so beautiful, and I'm also really lucky with the weather again.
The last few days it was quite flat, so it was really fun to finally have another downhill section. Soon after, it was already time to eat lunch. I had bought a sandwich and an eclair in a bakery. The bread of the sandwich was a bit sweet, but apart from that it was tasty. After the break, I was approaching Paris very quickly. Around 25 kilometers away from the city center, it changed from rural to urban. I had thought it might be a huge pain to cycle into town because of the traffic, but there's a cycling path along a canal that goes all the way to the city center. It was nice to see so many people running and riding their bikes. It was an incredible feeling when I arrived and saw the river called Seine.
I finally made it to Paris. Let's go!
It took me only a few minutes to get to the hostel. With almost 130 kilometers, it was the longest day by far. After finally being able to shower, I went out to explore the city a bit. My timing with the sunset was perfect. It was so cool to see so many people enjoying the beautiful evening at the river. In this moment, I was really happy and proud that I made it all the way to Paris. In the restaurant, I drank some homemade iced tea, ate a very tasty pizza with ham and mushrooms, and the tiramisu was amazing as well. If you want to see some pictures of me exploring Paris and cycling to Brussels, then make sure to subscribe to this channel. On the second stage, the landscapes were absolutely breathtaking as well. I really hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.